Last year, for those of you who had not been introduced to Donors Choose, or had not been familiar with Donors Choose, Katie Bisbee made sure that everyone knew about Donors Choose and could be a part of it with the generous gift that its organization is the work that they're doing. I'm sorry, sleepless is catching up with me. Yeah, oh, you think? Okay. Katie Bisbee, Chief Marketing Officer from Donors Choose.
There are few times in history when the saying, "we're all in this together," would be more applicable than right now.
Charles Best, he came up with a revolutionary idea during lunch in the teacher's lounge.
My colleagues and I were talking about books that we wanted our students to read, field trips we wanted to take them on, art supplies that we needed, but these ideas wouldn't go beyond the teacher's lunchroom. And then I just figured that there were people from all walks of life who wanted to help improve our public schools.
Through Donors Choose, ordinary citizens can directly fund projects initiated by enterprising public school teachers.
Teachers request dictionaries, science kits, field trips, resources that their students need to thrive. Then you can give to the project request that most inspires you with a donation of any amount.
It's such a simple, wonderful idea. You know exactly who you're helping and how you're helping them.
I love to give and know that I have a connection.
It's a very easy way to give back to public schools.
This is exactly the kind of social innovation we should be encouraging across this country.
I love DonorsChooseorg, and it's why I'm on the board and why I'm committed to helping it in any way I can.
Make sure you check it out, DonorsChooseorg.
Let's not underestimate the power each of us has to change the world for someone.
Thank you. Thanks. Before I get started, I wanted to point out that of the 3 people who got pickpocketed this morning, the one on the rightmost side was my Chief Financial Officer, Andy Kaplan. And Andy has been kind of dragging our executive team through this crisis management drill over the last couple of months, which we all hate, but he makes us do it. And a lot of the things we have to talk about are security issues. And so just to remind you, he's the one who got his cell phone pickpocketed from him. And I can't wait to go back and tell our executive team that that happened. So you've met Charles Best in the video. He founded DonorsChooseorg in a Bronx classroom 14 years ago. In the video you saw was taken 11 years ago when he was on Oprah, and you can see how his haircut has changed a little bit. When Charles started teaching at Wings Academy, which was a public high school in the Bronx, he was a social studies teacher. He really quickly saw that all schools are not created equal. And he saw that his students didn't have the materials they needed to learn, nor did his fellow teacher students have what they needed to learn. So he built DonorsChooseorg, which is a website where teachers can request anything they need to teach their students, from a class set of dictionaries to math games and puzzles to technology to a field trip to a local museum. DonorsChooseorg vets and verifies all of the project requests, and then we post them to the website. And donors can pick from the ones from 25,000 requests that are live at any given time and find the one that inspires them. When a project is funded, we ship the materials to the classroom, and the donor hears back from the classroom. They receive an impact letter from the teacher, photographs of the students playing with the math games or taking the field trip, and a cost report showing exactly how every dollar was spent. And if donors give $50 or more, they receive handwritten thank you notes in the mail from the students. So Charles's philosophy when creating DonorsChooseorg was that anybody could give as little as $1 and get the same level of choice and accountability and transparency and feedback that was traditionally reserved for people who gave millions of dollars. So despite the fact that back in 2000, when people were not accustomed to researching, shopping, or donating online, this was a time when websites like Facebook and YouTube and iTunes were years from being invented. Charles was successful in getting DonorsChooseorg off the ground. In 2002, the New York Times wrote a piece that said that Charles's little experiment in his Bronx classroom may someday change how people give online, and it may someday change the world for education. In 2003, you saw Oprah featured Charles on her show as an amazing public school teacher. Completely crashed our website, but we were fine after a couple of days. In 2007, we expanded to serve teachers in all 50 states across the US. So fast forward to today, we're now serving teachers in 56% of all public schools. This school year alone, about 300,000 individuals will pick a project to fund, and along with companies and foundations, they'll deliver $60 million directly into classrooms across the country. Thank you. Thank you. And it's fun for us that now crowdfunding and crowdsourcing is a household word. I don't think Charles would have ever dreamed 14 years ago that so many businesses would now be running models off of the model that DonorsChooseorg runs off. So it's fun for us to now be a part of a community of other crowdfunding organizations. So before you go to lunch, I wanted to share 2 really quick examples about how innovation and play are taking place in the classroom as we speak through DonorsChoose.org. The first is with underwater robots. This is David Lang. Several years ago, he and his friend built an underwater robot so that they could explore an underwater cave in the Sierras. They had heard about lost gold from a gold rush era robbery and wanted to go find it, which is why they built the robot. They did not find it. This robot that you see here is the Open ROV. ROV stands for Remote Operated Vehicle, which means that this little robot, about the size of a shoebox, sends live video feed from underwater through an ultra-thin tether up to the computer above the water. It's unique because it's totally open source, which you guys all know about from all the talks this morning. And it also is made mostly with off-the-shelf parts, which means that this robot costs, this Open ROV costs 1,000 times less than the ROVs that James Cameron used to explore the Titanic. But the actual robot is only half the story. David's dream when he created this was so that anybody could be an ocean explorer, and most importantly, so that young people could get excited about the ocean. But even though the maker movement and ocean explorers have really embraced the Open ROV, I'm guessing some of you have even heard of it, David would never dream of trying to sell his Open ROV robot into schools across the US. It would be an incredibly daunting task, not to mention expensive and time-consuming, for David to meet with the school district procurement officials in all 50 states and in the 13,588 school districts across the US. But David knew that his crowdsourced invention could really turn kids on and get them excited about exploring the depths of the ocean. So he partnered with DonorsChoose.org this fall. He worked with a philanthropist who had shared his same passion for oceanography, and that philanthropist agreed to fund classroom project requests from teachers for Open ROV kits on DonorsChoose.org. Over the last few months since November, 54 classroom projects have been funded for Open ROVs. There's a class of students in a remote island in southeastern Alaska right now. The kids are working with local fish and wildlife agencies, helping them to conduct annual surveys of salmon, herring, and sea cucumbers off the waters of their island. There are students in an all-girls high school in Florida who are building their Open ROV, and they're planning to submit it into a statewide ROV competition this spring. There are students exploring the Puget Sound in Washington State, the Hudson River in Harlem, New York, Lake Michigan, lakes in North Carolina, and a shipwreck site in Ohio. Pretty cool stuff, right? So I'll share one more example of how entrepreneurs, makers, and inventors are using crowdfunding to put innovation into schools. This is Bree Pettis, the CEO of MakerBot and a former public school teacher. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of head nods. I figured a lot of you would be familiar with MakerBot. They're unique in that they're building desktop 3D printers that are affordable and accessible. MakerBot is committed to educating today's students because they see them as the next generation of makers, engineers, product designers, architects, and artists. And MakerBot has set an audacious goal, which is to crowdfund a 3D printer into every school across America. So just like OpenROV, MakerBot has partnered with DonorsChooseorg to get access to teachers across the country, and specifically to the kinds of teachers who want to use innovative technology to give students their tools to be the next makers of things. These students are using their 3D printer to build models of catapults, wind turbine blades, and wind-powered cars. And they're only in the 6th grade. These students are using their 3D printer to learn about soil erosion. They designed buildings, they printed them on their MakerBot Replicator 2, and then they placed them along this model river. The river then experienced flooding due to a hurricane, and these students are in Brooklyn, New York, so they had just lived through Hurricane Sandy a little bit over a year ago. And they saw how the water and the flooding affected the river and affected their buildings, and they were able to evaluate whether or not their buildings were strong enough to withstand the flood or what improvements they should make next time to withstand the flood. And these kids are only in 2nd grade. So there are classrooms across the country using their 3D printers to make sculptures in art class, to build models of DNA strands and skeleton bones, and to build model rocket kits, among other things, which makes me wish I was in school today. So in closing, I hope that this is inspiring to see the kind of work and the level of work that teachers are doing in the classroom. And in the theme of Sandbox Summit, we wanted to give you a chance to play on DonorsChoose.org yourself. So as you walk out to lunch, Wendy and Claire and the Sandbox Summit team will be giving each of you a $50 DonorsChoose.org gift card so you can pick a classroom project to fund. Yay. Whether the project is for underwater robots or 3D printers or building blocks for early childhood play or even a project in your hometown, you can pick whatever you want. If you have children, please consider spending your gift card with them. Sit with them, show them how to pick classroom projects, talk to them about giving back, and find something innovative to fund together. And whatever you pick, have fun playing on DonorsChoose.org. Thank you.